Ryan Tannehill will not be the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans in 2023. You heard it here first. To find out why and to talk all things Titans, stay tuned. We got a great show for you tonight. Sammy, start me up.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Talking Titans.
Ladies and gentlemen, 94 yards. Touchdown, Titans. He is the baddest man in the NFL, and he just took her to the house.
The sickest Tennessee Titans podcast.
Sick!
It's gonna be sick.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Sick Podcast Talking Titans. I'm joined, as always, by my two co-hosts, Jared and Vin. Fellas, how are we doing tonight?
Doing good. Could be better, could be worse. Still crying myself to sleep at night over the loss of Robert Woods,
Yeah, it's a tough one to swallow. I don't know what we're going to do without those 450 yards next year. Hope him the best. Jarrett, you're looking young as ever. Look like you just got out of senior prom. Absolutely incredible how you're turning back those clocks. I wish I could turn clocks back like that.
I'm getting older. I'm looking younger. That's how it is.
That's the American dream right there. But let's jump right into it, fellas. Let's start off with some latest news that has broken since our last show. Some of us might have saw it coming. I, in particularly, did believe it was coming, and it appears to some in the NFL analyst media gallery that Bud Dupree is going to be released from the Titans in the very, very near future. Vin, what are your thoughts on that? Are you happy, upset, neutral? What do you think?
You not to say I'm happy because I have nothing against him, and he is a great player. He is a difference maker when he's on the field. The greatest ability is availability. In the last 2 years, he hasn't been as available as we would have liked him to be. That's hard to blame on him. Football is a rough sport, let alone when you're in the NFL. It's hard to stay healthy. But we can't afford to pay him what he is owed for what he is giving us on the field. Or when he is on the field, he is producing, but he's not on the field very often. So it is what it is. I think when we structured this deal, we structured it so he could get out of it after the first 2 years, basically. And I think that's the most likely case. And we're going to save a lot of money. And I think Rand Carthon's going to have, his pick of the litter, and he's going to have a lot of money to spend. And I'm looking forward to it. So thankful for what he did, but time to move on.
Absolutely, Jarrett.
Yeah, clearly a difference maker when he was on the field. Helped out, Autry and Jeffrey Simmons a hell of a lot, and especially with Harold Landry in there. It will definitely be different with him not being on the field. So to see who we're going to replace with him, I don't know. But piggybacking off of that, I seen a report today too on ESPN that we are linked to multiple free agents coming into next week. So, things are getting a little spicy for next week. Orlando Brown was linked to us. I don't know how true it would be. But do you guys see the Titans going after a franchise left tackle in free agency versus drafting a rookie left tackle? In my opinion, before you guys go for your opinions, I really do believe that they're going to do that in free agency. I don't know if it's going to be Orlando Brown because that's big money, but Mike McGlinchey, I also said sliding MPF over to the left-hand side and Mike McGlinchey insert to the right. They also can grab one of these guards, Ben Powers from Baltimore. Or even re-sign Nate Davis, one of our guys. And also the offensive line is very deep in this draft. So we can definitely pick who I think we're going to pick at 11 and then grab an offensive guard in the second round. But I do believe that we're going to go with Jackson Smith, Njigba with the 11th pick. What do you guys think is going to happen in free agency with the offensive line?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the history books, it would tell you, let's do something different because the draft ain't fucking working. I don't think it's a far-fetched to think that we're going to try to attack this in free agency. It certainly is a lower risk to go that way, but it's going to cost more money, obviously, and there's plenty of players that are still waiting to get their money. So,
yeah.
It's going to, just like everything else with this offseason, it's got to start with the first domino in order to figure out which one's going to fall next. So I personally would definitely take Orlando Brown. Side note, wasn't that also the guy from Disney Channel that's like fucking half a lunatic from you guys are a little bit older than me. You probably never watched Disney Channel. But anyway, besides the
Okay.
case. So he's one of
I know
the
who you're
guys
talking
from
about.
you know what I'm talking about. He's like a crackhead now. Anyway, I definitely would rather attack it through the draft, or I'm sorry, through free agency to get guys that are already proven. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what Rand's first move is. I mean, basically the whole fucking offensive line now has to be replaced, with maybe the exception of like right guard. I don't know. We'll see what if Nate Davis sticks around, but we'll see. Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be all that surprised either. I don't think maybe they're going to want to spend the money that Orlando Brown would command. I think your boy out of San Fran, Jarrett McGlinchey, would be a much more financially sound decision because you're going to have to pay him, but not the money you would have to pay Orlando Brown. I wouldn't be mad at the move at all because, like Sal said, although we are drafting with a new GM this year, it's been kind of a hit or miss type deal when we're drafting on the offensive line the last few years. So we'll see. If it was up to me, I would sign someone that is proven as opposed to going with a rookie left tackle combined with a second-year right tackle. I think a veteran could prove worthy on this offensive line to mentor the guys they're going to have to bring in via free agency or the draft. I think an experienced left tackle would be, a sound decision. That being said, I still think we go tackle in the draft. I think they're raving about Paris Johnson a lot and his numbers and whatnot. There's also a tackle. I don't know where he's going to go from the University of Michigan. Forget his name. It's a little hard to pronounce, but supposedly he was amazing at the Senior Bowl, had great numbers at the Combine. I'm unsure of his name, but I wouldn't be surprised if they went after someone like him maybe a little later in the second round if he's there, if they went receiver in the first round. But my gut feel is that we still go offensive line in the draft. If we stay there at 11, which I am going to pose a question a little later on, but that's what I think they're going to do.
Just to go back on the McGlinchey thing, I have a quote for the Titan fans and our podcast fans out there that McGlinchey was at the Combine the past weekend, and he did say he believes he's going to have a fast deal and could be agreed upon by Monday after the meetings he had at the Combine. So we could have a sense of where we may go if we do sign him. We can't sign him on Monday, but legally come to terms with him for Monday to agree upon for Wednesday. So we'll see what happens with that. So we're just, a couple of short days away from Christmas morning for all of us next week.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great. It'd be a great start to get a guy like that, superior talent. And I mean, I've said this a million times. If this organization wants any respect from their fans back as far as how they left things at the end of last year, it's going to start by doing a complete 180 to the offensive line. I mean, obviously the quarterback position is realistically for the long term the most important part of this whole situation, but this offensive line it is just so bad as it stood at the end of the year that all their focus should be on making sure that is improved tremendously. So we'll see if the first step to that will happen early next week. But Vin, why don't you lead us into your topic about those picks that you were bringing up earlier?
So just to play devil's advocate, let's just say that we move up and we look to move up with the intentions of taking a new franchise quarterback. If we move up, what do you think it's going to cost us to move into the top 5? And who do you think we target, which quarterback, whether it's Young, Stroud, the kid from Florida, Will Levis, what's his name, Anthony Richardson?
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think we go after should we decide to make that move up to go get our new potential franchise guy?
Yeah, well, I saw some bullshit, and it is such bullshit. Twitter
About an hour
NFL
ago.
rumor page, right? It had 5,000 following and like 1,200 followers. Anyway, but it's saying that we're one of 4 teams that is balls in, all in on that number 1 pick, and that the cost would be obviously a swap this year, first rounder 24, first rounder 25, and other stuff. Whatever that other stuff is will remain to be seen. But nevertheless, if that's the price, I think it's fair. I think it's a fair price, a swap and 2 first rounders. Um, I'm just worried about Bryce Young's size. I really am. I'm really worried about it. They say usually you put 10 pounds on an NFL locker room your first preseason, your first training camp. So if that's the case, all right, that'll help. But he's a small dude, man. He's short. And we've seen, that's usually, now there's some exceptions like Russell Wilson, sometimes Kyler Murray. But, the history books show that a smaller guy typically doesn't have the success as the bigger dudes do in the NFL that throw the football. So my gut is telling me that Stroud would be the number one option. But I'll tell you, you see Richardson in the fucking combine, and he makes Malik look like a division or a junior varsity athlete. I mean, his vertical. I mean, he's got just as good of an arm. I mean, it's tough, man. It's really tough for a guy like me to say it. It's really tough, and I would not be shocked by any stretch of the imagination if he goes number one to whoever's picking number one.
He's definitely going 100%.
And, if Carthon and Mike fall in love with the guy, I don't know. I mean, we got to find out first if the rumors are true that we're really knocking on the door. If that's the case, then nothing will surprise me. But my gut's saying go for Stroud. But, my stomach and my eyes, if that makes any sense, is looking at what Richardson has to offer and just drooling over it because he's built like a brick shit house, and he's got the tools and the physique of all the major guys in the league right now. So that's what I think about the situation. Vin?
Hypothetically speaking,
sorry,
no, it's all good. Hypothetically speaking, now if we are moving from 11, the ideal trade partner, I would think, possibly would be the Arizona Cardinals going up to 3. Okay, Monty's over there now. He was with the Titans. There may be some marriage there, that they can come up with a deal. And if that is the case, and Anthony Richardson goes 1, let's say, then you have the Bryce Young and the C.J. Stroud as the pick of the litter. And I do think Stroud may fall to him, and Stroud may fall to us if we do make that trade. So if I'm targeting somebody, I'm targeting C.J. Stroud as well. I'm doing a swap this year. I'm okay with 2024 and 2025. I'm losing those picks and possibly a third rounder in there. No players. There's nothing else that involved with that. But
no, yeah, I tend to agree. I think C.J. Stroud is the smoothest passer in this draft, if that makes sense. It just looks very natural to him.
Put a performance on at the combine.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think Bryce Young is going to be a phenomenal quarterback if he could stay on the field. But like Sal said, I mean, when you're 5'10", 180, 190 pounds, even if you put on 10 pounds, that's not much. I mean, these linebackers or defensive line, when they're running between 240 and 300 pounds, I don't think an extra 10 pounds is going to really save Bryce Young. Plus, what makes Bryce Young is the ability to run around and scramble and, throw the ball the way he does. And adding 10 pounds might take away from his natural game a little bit. So who even knows if that extra weight could help him. I love C.J. Stroud. I'd be all for it. I think Will Levis and Anthony Richardson are gambles where it could be like a Josh Allen type thing where, you're a physical freak. We know that, but you still have a lot of work to do mechanically as a quarterback. And, their risks, I think if we're going to make a move, it's going to be with more of a sure thing. And I think that sure thing is either C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. Personally, I don't think we're moving up, but as the closer we get to the draft, I said it to you guys this week, I'm on the C.J. Stroud train. You also got to think he's an Ohio State guy. Vrabel's an Ohio State guy. He's probably got still deep connections there.
His best friend is the head coach.
Yeah, if there's if there's any due diligence to be done at Ohio State, I think Vrabel has all the resources at his disposal to get all the due diligence he needs before they make a decision on what they want to do. So if we make that move, I hope it is for Stroud. I'm glad all 3 of us are on the same page. That doesn't happen often. Sal's wants Anthony Richardson, but we'll see on that. But I think we can all agree our best pure quarterback I think is Stroud in this draft.
Now, if we're staying at 11, and you guys say we may go tackle, I thoroughly want Jackson Smith, Njigba at 11. Okay, but if we don't take that and we don't get a tackle in free agency, and we definitely take a tackle at 11 between Darwin Jones, Peter Skoranek, Paris Johnson, and Broderick Jones. Out of those four guys, who is your target at 11?
It's another thing where you feel like it's kind of, pick your poison. To me, I like Paris Johnson. I liked, the level of competition he played against in college. He is by far, I think, if you could build a prototypical left tackle, has all the intangibles that you would like. But it's pick your poison. I mean, I like Skoranek a lot too. But if it was up to me, I think not only, is Stroud a Ohio State guy, as is Paris Johnson. So not to say we're going to be biased towards that. I just feel like Vrabel has all the, tools at his disposal to get all the due diligence done he needs everywhere, especially in the Ohio State realm. So I think if we stay at 11 and we take a tackle, Paris Johnson is the guy if he's there. But weird things happen in the draft. People fall in love with players last minute. He could go, before us, or one of the other guys could go before us. So
yeah,
I mean, so guys like Darwin Jones, the guy's 6'8", 374 pounds. His wingspan is 87.5 inches. That's a large human. 11 and 5/8 hands, and he's only allowed 3 sacks in college. That's the right tackle for Ohio State too. And Broderick Jones is the same thing. Let up 2 sacks in his career at Georgia. Another 6'5", lean 311-pound guy too. I mean, so there's a lot of great size tackles in this draft. So if we do end up with one of them, we're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I'm going to double down on what Vin said. Paris Johnson would also be my first choice. Loved his combine interview too. Seems to be very, very, very passionate about the game, which is obviously priority number one, something Isaiah Wilson did not have. So that'll be my first choice. But one thing I want to bring up too, which nobody's coming to the realization is a possibility. We could take a quarterback at 11. Okay, listen, one of these guys, I mean, is it possible that 5 guys could go in the top 10? Yeah, it's possible, but I don't think it's likely. I don't think it's likely that 5 quarterbacks are getting picked in the top 10. I don't.
Well, and it's like what Adam Rank said, it could be the situation with Justin Fields where people thought he was going to go top 5, top 6, top 7. Yep. And then he's available at 10 and the Bears make their move. So if it gets to, 8, 9, and we feel like we need to jump Carolina to get our guy, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Yeah. Another thing I think could happen no one's talking about is because we have a new GM and he might want to have as much ammunition as possible, we might trade back and load up on some picks. If one of those quarterbacks is available and we don't want him, could then a team come try to look to get to 11 to get into our spot to get their guy and we could load up on some picks? I think with the new GM, that's a high possibility as well. But that's why I'm most excited this year is because, one, we're waiting for the first domino to fall, whether it's quarterback, tackle, and free agency. And then in the draft, I mean, it's a crapshoot. I think Titans fans, we could talk for days on what we think is going to happen. And that's because there's so many different things that make sense for us. So definitely looking forward to it. But, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, it's I'll be honest. I'll be completely honest. I really don't want to trade back. And the reason being is just they gotta really make they need a difference maker and one that seems to be almost a guaranteed difference maker. And it looks to be like you're going to get a great shot of doing that at 11, no matter what position you tackle, no pun intended. So, I mean, now mind you, if the trade back is from 11 to like 15, okay, I can probably live with that. If there's
depending on what's on the board, though.
Yeah, if there's a guy on the board that a team desperately wants and knows isn't going to make another 4 picks, and we swap and we get a second rounder for that, fine. But if somebody's offering from the real bottom, like we're talking 20th, 20 to 25th, or 32nd, obviously, or Chiefs, whoever, if we're talking like a real big jump or a real big decline from where we are to where we're going in the first round, I don't want it because I don't want to roll another dice on this first round pick. And it's won't be good for Carthon. I mean, yeah, he's not a player, but they have brains too. They have mental capacities too. I don't want this guy to already start second guessing himself because he fucked up on the 24th pick that he traded down to get more picks in the second and third round. So again, this all depends on where things shake up, where these top 4 guys go. I mean, don't forget about this Tennessee kid either, because he's only dropping because of his injury. He's a pretty good talent, and I think he still could potentially go in the first round. I mean,
Jalen Watt's definitely going to go in the first round.
Yeah,
and he did say that he met with, I think, Tennessee at the combine. So
yeah, I mean, so keep him in the loop. These are 5 guys that are supposed to be top first round talent. So, it's all going to depend on what is most important to Carthon, and if we get this quarterback position opened before the draft. So we'll see how things shape up, but I don't want to trade back to the bottom half of this draft. There's just no way I want to do that. I want a difference maker that's going to be a difference maker day one.
And I'm telling you, that difference maker is Jackson Smith, because you got a guy that had 15 catches in the Rose Bowl for 374 yards, a Rose Bowl record, and set the record for Big Ten receiving yards in that same year in 1600. I mean, Rabel's been saying he wants speed, he wants difference makers on offense. You pair that with Chig and Burks on that offense, and possibly maybe a Dalton Schultz. We haven't even gotten into that yet at all with free agency.
Yeah.
That's a lethal offense right there. So, and you go after the tackles like we said in free agency. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. What went on this week, fellas? There was trade rumors with Derrick Henry being on the trading block, and that got chopped up. We saw some true colors by fans. What is the opinion? Well, what is the opinion from you guys?
I don't think you'd have to call me an elephant. I know I gained some weight, but it's a little insensitive. No, I think sure. Is it a possibility? Absolutely. I mean, he's getting up there in age. I think when the season starts or during the season, he'll be turning 30 years old. Obviously, a lot of tread on the tires the last few years. If you could get maybe a first or second round pick for multiple picks, I could see it happening. But at the end of the day, like Adam Rank said, I think he is the identity of this team. I cannot see Mike Vrabel signing off on trading Derrick Henry. We know the way he loves him. We've seen clips of him talking about him during games. They can't tackle Derrick. They can't tackle Derrick. Run left, run the ball. I can't see it happening, especially a year after we traded A.J. Brown, which we know was more John Robinson than Mike Vrabel. But to really piss off this franchise, if they want to do that, go ahead and trade Henry. And I think you're going to lose a lot of people in this fan base who they have just now gotten back. Because I'll tell you what, when I went to that Bengals game when Mariota was our quarterback, it was about 60, 70% Bengals fans. And as the years have gone on, the better we've gotten. We've created more loyalty within our fan base. But I'll tell you what, a good way to lose it is to trade the best running back in the league, who ran behind the worst offensive line and still ran for the second most yards, I think 1,530-something yards. So if you want to lose the fan base, go ahead and do it. If you want to make all 3 of us cry, go ahead and do it. I cannot see it happening unless there is an offer made that is to the point where, not to make fun of us being Italian, but an offer we can't refuse. I just don't see that happening for a running back at the age of 29. And as great as he is, sometimes they fall off cliffs. So it would be unwise, I think, for a team to give up the house for him because of his age. And I also think it'd be unwise for us to trade him, considering he is the identity of this team. And we know he wants to be here, and we know he wants to win. So don't do it. Please don't do it. But if you want to piss off a lot of people, Titans brass, if you're listening, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet because I don't want to go on a tangent, because we do have a few other things to cover. But here's my stance on it. I personally believe first or second round pick, you do it. So I'm explaining you why, right? Nobody needs to tell me what Derrick Henry brings. Okay, he's the best running back on the planet. Okay, you give him a hole, he's going to hit it. Sometimes even when you don't give him a hole, he's not going to hit it. Or even when you don't give him a hole, he's still going to hit it. But here's the thing. I've said this a zillion times. This team, this offense needs a new identity. Since the inception of the Titans and in the inception of the Oilers, this team's been run first for forever. Okay. And in this league, the way you win Super Bowls now, obviously the run's great. You got to work on the run. You got to establish the run. But, people are getting in the end zone through the air. It's just the way it is. And if that is the cost it's going to take for us to finally decide, you know what, let's try to become more of a throwing team, then that's a pill I'll have to swallow with all the great time we've had with Derrick Henry in the past. Again, I prefer it not to be the case because I still think he's more valuable than, what they're saying he could get in return. But if it's a first rounder, absolutely don't even think about it. I don't think that's happening in a million years unless there's a team that's really in love with him that thinks he is the answer and he's the final piece of the puzzle. But if you get a first round pick for Derrick Henry, I'm sorry, folks. You do it and you don't even think twice about it. I mean, that's invaluable, a first round pick. For a guy that's gonna be 30 and whatever the case may be. I still would do it for a second rounder. But beyond that, absolutely no. And I love Derrick Henry. He's my man. I'm wearing his fucking sweatshirt. I got a million things signed. No one needs to tell me how great Derrick Henry is, and he's a legend in Nashville forever. But there's too many things we correct. There's just too many things we need to improve on. That if you're getting another high draft pick to possibly fill another one of those holes, and in the process also changing an entire dynamic of an offense that hasn't been able to take the final step, then that's an unfortunate dice you got to roll. So we'll see how it shapes up. Again, I don't think anyone's going to.
Not to cut you off. You also just said we were talking about when I brought up trading back in the first round. You said you don't want to do that because it's more of a risk. So if you're saying we could trade Henry for a first round pick, and let's say it's between 20 and 30, well, that first round pick is also going to be a risk as well. Whereas what you're getting with Derrick Henry.
Yes,
you're getting
I understand that
14, 15, 1,600 yards a year.
Right.
You're going to trade him for pick 23, or if Buffalo wants to give us their pick at what, 26, 27?
They ain't never like these people I tweeted. They're never trading him to Miami, Buffalo, the Bengals.
No, I don't think if they trade him, they would be stupid to do it within the AFC. But I'm just saying, to play devil's advocate with Sal, he said that it would be a risk for us to trade back and instead of getting a difference maker in the top 11, if we're going to trade back to 20-something, that's more of a risk. Well, it's also a risk to trade the best running back in franchise history for a late first-round pick as well when you don't know what you're getting. This guy hasn't drafted anybody on his own yet, so,
Yeah, but to counter that, though, dude, I mean, I got to say it. It's just the way it is. He's not going to be able to do it by himself. And this team forever has been dependent on him doing it all by himself. And I'm sorry, in my mind, as long as he's on the roster, he's going to demand the football 35 times a game. He's going to demand it. And he has that power, honestly, in my mind. He's got that kind of brass on that sideline that as long as he's part of the team, the relationship he has with Vrabel, the fact that he's a staple of this franchise, brought them out of the mud, he wants the ball 30-plus times a game. He's getting the ball 30-plus times a game. And
there was some games that AJ went off and Derrick had like 10, 12 carries last year. Not last year, 2 years ago.
Often.
That's why I say this is a
2,000-yard year. Of course, you might be talking about 1 or 2 games tops, but that's it. He had like 500 carries that year.
Let the man speak. Go ahead, Jared.
No, but that's why I'm saying we go after a tackle in free agency, and we have to get that other wide receiver to get to take the workload off of Derrick Henry. You still have the presence in the backfield, but you have 2 legitimate wide receivers now instead of just one and a gimpy Robert Woods, and then you got MPF and now you have Chig, and especially if you have to go off the tight end, or you have Austin Hooper. So that's why I think you still keep the king in Nashville, and you go after these
first rounder, even for a first rounder.
I'm keeping them. You ain't get a first rounder for a 30-year-old running back. You're not doing it.
I'm just saying.
At most, you're getting a third round pick for him.
Okay, absolutely not. Then absolutely not. I wouldn't do it. But again, I'm going to say it. You want to talk about? And we're also forgetting the fact that there's another risk involved in this. He could get hurt.
Yeah,
anybody can get hurt though.
I understand that, but like the odds are slowly rising that it could. Yeah. We all know the myths about him are all mostly true. He's a superhuman being, okay? But at the end of the day, he still has a heartbeat. His blood is still red, and he's still a living, breathing human being. Eventually, it's going to get to a point, possibly, where he might his legs might start being a little bit more brittle. He's got a lot of tread on the tires, not much tread on the tires. He's been ran a lot of times. So again, And I don't want to lose sight of my main focus of the reason why I would do it, to force the team to stop being so dependent on the run. Okay. That's the main part of it. It's an added bonus that you'd be getting a pick to help fill a role of another giant hole of the many that we have. But if
but I think
that's
the run game, I not to cut you off, is still a very important aspect of the game. I mean, look at the Chiefs, who were still looking at getting Pacheco and McKinnon involved throughout the course of the game. Look at the Eagles, who did not run the ball as much as they should have. And we know running the ball with Miles Sanders and Gainwell was a strength of theirs. I mean, yeah, I know you're saying we can't run the ball 34 times a game, 30, 40 times a game is what I meant to say.
Mhm.
But I still think running the ball is how you kill the clock, how you keep your defense, ready to go and keep them, keep them from getting tired. I think that you could still give the ball to Derrick Henry 20, 25 times a game and have him still be productive.
You want to try to help Derrick Henry out? There's a lot of running backs in this draft you can get in the later rounds, possibly the second or third round. You have Tajay Spears out of Tulane, and you have another guy, Kansas State running back, Deuce Vaughn. He's 5'5", a Darren Sproles type guy. He could do everything out of the backfield. He had 1,500 yards in last year's football season. So I mean, there's a lot of help that you can do with him to take the wear and tear off of him.
Listen,
so I mean.
He's a surreal talent.
Yeah.
I'm gonna love him forever. But the bottom line is that you can get by with him. You can get by without a guy like that still in the NFL. There's all the listen. I'm sorry, go down the line. All the elite teams in the NFL, they don't have superstar household name running backs. They don't. I'm sorry, they don't. Listen, if you could have it all, that'd be great. But most teams don't have it all. They got to pick their poison. They want the elite quarterback. They want the elite wide receivers. They want the great defense, great O-line. There's always got to be a hole missing there.
Absolutely.
And, there's no way you're going to tell me that you can't find a guy that can give you 300 carries for 1,200 yards and can also catch the ball too, which is something that we don't have with this guy.
Not behind this line.
Yeah, but we're losing track. That's not what my point is here. We're talking about Derrick Henry and his importance in 2023. Listen, I love the guy, but at the end of the day, the end goal is to win a Super Bowl. I'm no longer putting players above this team. I've done it before, and it's never worked for me. I'm never doing it again. Folks, I mean, you got to look at the big picture. And if you can get a first-round pick to attempt to fill another hole of the many that you have, and in return, you got to get rid of a guy that's excellent. But another thing we haven't brought up, 3 straight playoff games, he's been a no-show. Obviously, you came back from injury this last one. But the other 2, I mean, these elite teams are starting to put together packages in the playoffs that are slowing the guy down. And the rest of the season is a little bit different. You play a ton of different teams. They only get a week to prepare, da-da-da-da-da. But, no one likes to talk about this, but it's the reality of it. He had the New England game. He had the Baltimore game. They were memorable games. Nobody's ever going to forget them. After that, absolute no-show. Okay? It's been 4 years since this guy's made a stance, has made an impact on a playoff game.
Cincinnati against him last year. That was his first game off a broken foot. I'm not.
I understand. I'm not. And again, I already brought that up. But what about the other 2? The other 2 is a no-show. No-show against Baltimore. No-show in the AFC Championship.
No show in the AFC Championship. He was like our lone bright spot. He scored a touchdown in that game, and we got away from him.
He was a no-show in the second.
We got away from him because we fell behind instead of sticking to what was working for us at the time.
Third quarter, we still let him. We still gave him a shot in the third quarter, and they shut him down, and it forced us to pass. And Tannehill broke down like he does in every playoff game. Listen, I don't. We're getting into.
Yeah, we can go on and on and on.
Go on and on about this. I'm just saying what my stance is, and it's not to be. It's not trying to be controversial. I don't want to get rid of him, and if it's for a third or later, absolutely fucking not. He's worth way, way more than that. But I'm sorry, a first or a second rounder, and pairing that with, which is the most important part, it's going to make us be more of a throwing team and stop depending on a guy carrying the ball 35 times a game, then I'm all for it. And I'm sorry, fellas, you might think differently, but if Derrick Henry's on this team next year, I highly doubt he's not going to get 35 carries a game again, no matter who we pick up in free agency or in the draft. That's just my opinion. And we'll move on because we're going on tangents here, but we'll see. Time will tell. I don't think anyone's going to offer that, so I don't see any reason why he should be off the team. But they need to still throw more, so that's that. So we've been going like crazy. I'll very briefly, because I just went on a full tangent. I opened up the show with a statement about how I think Ryan Tannehill, and I swear this is going to be quick, is not going to be the quarterback next year. The reason I think that is cut and dry. The cuts that we've made so far have already expanded farther than anything I expected already, especially if this Bud Dupree thing goes through. I really didn't think Woods was going to get – well, no, I did think Woods was going to get cut. But the Lawan thing happening so quickly, the Woods thing happening right away, Dupree coming soon. I just don't think Carthon makes these moves with the intent of keeping the same guy at quarterback, which is the most important thing. So I think if he wants to make this his football team, he's going to want to do it full circle. And, with the exception of maybe Derrick Henry sticking around because he's a key focal point. But it looks like he wants production. And if you're not giving him production, then he wants to pick his own guy to give you production. And obviously, there's plenty of stats that show, regardless of the surrounding talent, Tannehill's production hasn't been excellent. He lost 4 games before getting hurt. Nobody wants to talk about that. So we'll see how things shape up. But that's my main reason why I don't think he's going to be back next year, based on what Carthon's done so far up to this point. What do you guys think about that? I mean, I know you disagree, but tell me why.
No, I just honestly think that he is going to be the quarterback for next year. I think that they're cutting Bud Dupree's money, and they're going to restructure. I think Tannehill and Byard, extend both of them. Get the money back in the back end of the deals, and they're just going to free up more money. I think they can free up close to, I forgot what I don't know. I don't want to say what they're going to free up on Tannehill, but I know they can free up $10 million for Kevin Byard. I read an article on that, so that's money right there. To help bring in other free agencies, but I really do Tannehill's going to be the quarterback in 2023.
I mean, I could see him being the quarterback, but I don't know if he's going to be willing to take the pay cut. We think he might be, we might think he might be willing to take, because look at guys like Geno Smith who just got 35. Look at Daniel Jones who just got 40. If I'm Ryan Tannehill and you're telling me I'm not worth $27 million and you want me to restructure, I might tell you to kick rocks, because if Derek Carr and Geno Smith and Daniel Jones are getting over $30 to $40 million a year, Tannehill can say I'm easily worth that. I've gone further in my career than any of these guys had. So I don't think he's going to be as willing as a lot of people think he is to take that pay cut. So I personally think I'm starting to lean in Sal's direction, where I think we release him. We save what would be 20-something million, 27 million, I think the number is. And I think we give Rand all the bullets he needs in his arsenal to go have fun in free agency and go have fun in the draft, because, we let him go. I mean, we've let a plethora of players go. If we restructure Byard and let go of Bud Dupree and Tannehill, we're going to have a shit ton of money to spend. So
they also could. Yeah, they also
his guy. We don't know yet. That's the beauty of the thing. He might have a guy, whether it's Richardson or Levi's or Stroud or Young or Parker. Definitely not him. But he might have a guy that he wants to go get, and he might just be playing possum with these political generic answers he's given about Tannehill's the quarterback of this team. Because we know if he was going to move him or release him, he's not going to say, yeah, guys, we're looking to trade him. Yeah, guys, we're looking to release him.
He could be dangling him still. I mean, you got Rodgers still out there, trying to sign a deal. So if he's signed, they might trade him to the Jets. Who knows? That's why they're still hanging on to him.
Listen, who knows? I just think that with what we've done so far in free agency and the fact that we have a new guy as our GM, he might want his guy. I think if we do keep him, it is as a bridge quarterback, and I see it in a scenario where we maybe go get our guy, just like the Chiefs did with Mahomes and kept Alex Smith for a year as a bridge. Maybe a situation like that. But if that's not the case, then I do not see us keeping him or extending him.
Yeah, one thing I would not do is I want him to be a bridge guy, because I've seen enough. There's no need. I think a bridge guy would be a fair idea if the bridge guy still gave you an opportunity to win in the playoffs. And I just don't see him giving us an opportunity, regardless of what kind of improvements the roster gets in the offseason. So I'd rather just throw the fucking kid in the fire. If it's going to, here's the good thing, with the exception of maybe Richard, if it's Stroud or Young, if we somehow pull that off, I mean, these kids are seasoned in pressure already because they played in the toughest conference in college football. So, I don't think them struggling early on, if we threw them in the fire, would be that detrimental to them long term because of the fact that they've already been in extremely high pressure situations in college. So, that's the one thing I would not want. I wouldn't want Tannehill come just to waste another year. Because don't forget, the longer we wait, the longer the kid's going to have rust, even if he sits 2 years. Okay. He's not going to come in year 3 and start being Mahomes, whether he has the talent or not. That's just not going to happen. So I'd rather get the ball rolling, throw him in there. If we go 4-13, great. Okay. We got to see him. Hopefully there's some highlights to show. And then we're going to have another top 5 pick to help add that. Would that be his Jamar Chase or his, next Joe Mixon? Derrick Henry's not around. So we'll see how it plays out. But the bridge concept, I would be really annoyed with because I'm done with him. I'm done with 17. You guys know that.
So just to clarify, Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud didn't play Campbell in college.
No, maybe on NCAA football from EA Sports, but not in real life. So I guess that's a positive thing. I hope I really hope Malik's watching this because, I don't think his door is. I think there's a crack open. I think there's just a smidge, and that's one last thing we'll bring up.
It's open.
Yeah, Mesa. There it is. He just shut it.
Shut.
My ideal situation would be getting the guy 1 or 2 or whatever pick it is, Stroud or Young or Richardson, and keeping Malik, having them have them battle it out. Have them battle it out. You would assume that one of this year's guy would win, but regardless, have them swap them out. Who gives a fuck? Have some fun. Just build a new brand of football and then find who your guy's going to be and then move forward with him. But we'll see how it shapes up. We got a lot of time to figure these things out. But before we go, is there anything else you two want to bring up before we close shop for the night?
No, it was nice to just have us 3 again, without a guest. I missed
absolutely
3 of us going back and forth. I know everyone else did too as well. So, no, it's we'll see what happens. Fun times ahead with free agency, the draft
absolutely.
next month. We're waiting for that first domino to drop, and whether it's Henry or Tannehill or free agency and getting a left tackle, I'm looking forward to it because, if anything, it's going to be new and exciting. So
yeah, absolutely. And I figure we'll bring this up now to all the generous guests that are still with us watching. We're gonna have a great guest on next week. Kayla Anderson is going to join us. Obviously, you know her from covering the Titans. She's on Twitter all the time. Great content she puts out. So we'll be able to chop things up with her, pick her brain a little bit on some of the things she's might have seen. Obviously, being much closer to the organization than we are. So definitely make sure to check that out. We'll give everyone updates on when that's going to be coming out as the week progresses. But as always, make sure you like, subscribe. Make sure any podcast apps you're on with us, make sure you subscribe. You see our Twitter handles there. And everything got pushed back because of the issue we had tonight. But we're gonna get these fans in. I promise you, absolutely. We might do a couple in one show to fill the void a little bit, but we're gonna get you involved, and we want to shoot the shit with you as well. So hope everyone has a great night. And as always, tighten up. Sammy out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Talking Titans on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.